I'm Jeff Pospisil, the conference treasurer, and this is the 2020 statistics informational video. I subtitled this one, The Rise of Table Easy. So statistics for 2020, they were going to be way different than previous years, no matter what, just because of everything that's happened. But it's going to be even more different in the Dakotas because we're going to use the table EZ. To give you a little bit of a backstory on how the stats are where they are for this year, I met with the conference treasurers and the general church, GCFA. Maybe it was either late November or early December, and we were discussing statistics. And the conference treasurers were mainly of the mind that we don't want to collect statistics this year. Pastors are overwhelmed. Let's do nothing this year. And besides, all the stats, will they be even worth anything because they're going to be so different from prior years? And then the general church said, well, no, we should really collect everything because people might need information to make decisions on leading the denomination to success. That was their argument was something along that line is you never know what information you're going to need, so let's make them collect everything. And then I had told them that about a decade ago, I had created an in-between. I had some pastors that were really struggling to get their statistics in for a variety of reasons. So I put together a table easy, and I really pushed for this for a number of years on and off. That really the table easy was a short form, and it was just those questions that we thought were the most important to have answered, at least for the Dakotas UMC. And so I said, why don't we do that? And both sides, the conference treasurers and the denomination, seem to be open to it. Later on, the general church kind of reneged on it and just said, well, we're just going to collect everything anyway because that's what we've always done. But I had already posted it on Facebook, so I guess and I got sign off from our leadership to go ahead and do table EZ. So that's where we're at for this. You'll have a short form. There is an option to do a long form if you want to, or if you just want to pick out some of the other questions that you think are important for your church that you want recorded, that's fine as well. So you will be getting a postcard from Joanne. Here's a copy of it, I guess a sample of it. And, this is a good one. We do a postcard for the main reason is that it's a good reminder. I mean, go ahead and if you have a calendar on the wall, clip it to the February one. Or if you have somebody in your office or somebody that takes care of it, put it on their desk or put it in their mailbox. And we like that as a physical reminder. By the way, I threw a graph in here, and it was just interesting to see the decline in the amount of debt of our United Methodist churches in the Dakotas. So I just thought that was interesting and thought I'd share that with you. On the other side, this is, this must be Justin Jeunesse church, Hilltop. I'm not going to do your stats for you, but this is what it looks like. It has very short instructions, and probably the most important thing is Joanne's contact information if you have questions, as well as your username and password. That's also important. All right, let me go ahead and show you how to log in on the postcard, as well as some frequently asked questions, or what I anticipate to be frequently asked questions. So go ahead and go to ezra.gcfa.org, and I have this zoomed in, so hopefully it's easier to see. And I'm going to put in, for my user ID, Mission Fargo's, and the password is the same as for everyone. It's stats 2020. Stats is all capitalized. And it'll say this is my first time logging in. And I'm going to go ahead and hit next. And I already filled this in, but this is the contact information for the person that you want to have contacted if there are questions or problems. And then they're going to ask you to change your password. So stats 2020, all caps. And I'm going to put it back as stats 2020 because especially if you have multiple people working in it, it'll just make it easier. Otherwise, write the new password right down on that postcard. It might make your life easier. And then it'll say you're good to go. And you're going to have a couple of options here. I'm going to ignore that. But first one is, let's go ahead and print a blank report or form. And I like this because it'll, well, here, you hit the run button and there'll be this download PDF. And it should open up in a new tab here, and you can print it or download it, but it'll give you blank spaces for the 2020 as well as last year's numbers. And here you can see Table EZ, how much shorter it is. This is probably a third of the size for the Table 1. And then Table 2 is only 8 questions. And then Table 3 is, I didn't skip much of Table 3. Most of Table 3 is actually there. And then the other place to go is go back to Stats Home, and then there's the Begin Entering My Stats, or you could have just entered that right here as well. Begin Entering My Stats, and you'll see what's done so far, and you'll see the 4/30, the April 30th, 2020. We need to update that date, obviously. Really, they're due by February 28th. That's when you want to have them done. April 30th is really our drop dead date, where if we don't have them in, we're not going to be able to get them into the denomination. So you click on the one that you want to start, and all you have to do is, there's the instructions right here. There's also, sometimes there's additional instructions on these little question marks. Actually, I think they're the same as these instructions, but go ahead and fill everything out. And the questions I'm anticipating will be on the how do you count online worship attendance, and maybe even physical worship attendance, and then how do you record the PPP loan. So for the PPP loan, you're going to want to record that, or if you get a South Dakota grant or another grant of some kind, go ahead and go to Table 3, and it's that very last line, 54C, where it says Other Grants and Financial Support. That's where you would include the PPP loans. So now when we're talking about attendance, physical attendance, just make sure you average the number of Sundays where you actually had worship attendance. So let's just say you had physical worship attendance 30 Sundays out of the year. So make sure you're not including all the zeros for the other 22. Same kind of deal for online. So let's just say you started, in mid-March and did 42 online Sundays. So you average those, and you wouldn't include the zeros for the previous 12 Sundays. For guidance on how to record the online ones, go to Resources, COVID-19. And then there is this one, Your Questions Answered. And that's near the bottom of that submenu. And then you got to go almost 2/3 of the way down. And I kind of got this zoomed in, so it might be not super easy to see. But how do you find accurate attendance numbers? And it's going to be tough. And if you just want to count 1-minute views or unique views, that's all good. I had Embrace help me put this together. And we really helped guide the denomination that way. But also, if you do want to include a factor, you can do that too. Just try to make sure you keep your documentation. Also, if you hadn't been really strict about keeping track of these numbers, it's all right to go ahead and sample it. Go back in your Facebook and pick, 8 or so Sundays where you had online worship attendance, and just see what those were. And just to get an idea, but just to give us some kind of a benchmark about the number of people we're reaching with our Sunday morning message and worship experience. The other place I want to show you is under Finance and Benefits, Statistics. And there's Joanne and her contact information. There's the statistical database, which I always like. There's the link to go into Ezra, and then there's the statistical forms. And here's where you can get to either a blank one of the Table EZ or the long forms. This is the full tables 1, 2, and 3. If you want to do those, that would be fine as well. Our expectation is that every church at least completes the Table EZ. If you want to include more information, like let's just say something you think is missing, you can just fill out whatever you think is missing in one of the tables and get them to Joanne, and that would be fine too. So let's just say you wanted to include your UMW numbers because UMW is important for your church's mission. Then you would go ahead and just report those numbers, fill out a table 1. All you'd have to do is fill out that part of the table 1. If you want to do the full thing, that's also fine. We're just trying to, in this weird time, trying to do something a little bit different, hopefully make this not overwhelming for people. All right, hopefully that has helped prepare you for the statistics for 2020. If you're not the one that does this for your church, feel free to forward this video on if you think it'll help. If somebody else on your team does the statistics, that'd be awesome. And by the way, I just want to also take a final opportunity to thank you for your work throughout this trying year of 2020. 2020 was going to be a tough year no matter what, but I think we had no idea how tough it would be. But it was awesome to hear the stories of how people brought the light of Jesus Christ into the lives of so many people, and the different people that we touched, probably because of all the trials of this year. And just thank you for your work. And I know we'll never be able to capture that this side of heaven, but thank you for bringing the love and the power and the truth of Jesus Christ to the people. So may God bless your ministry in 2021.